What's up, you guys? It's VDX. Less than happy news today, but I think that it's a really important one to talk about with regards to Tekken history and the FGC in general. Before I start, I got Sean Unconkable's permission. He wrote this article to read this on stream and on YouTube. I thought it'd be important to share with people, especially people who are newer to Tekken. Slips is before my time as well, but he has influenced so many players and so many people in the community, and I want to take a chance to read this. Just for a bit of background, Spirojin, a competitor in the current day, tweeted on June 29th about Slipkix's passing. He says, "Sadly, we have lost a legend. It breaks my heart to hear that my mentor and friend Brad has passed. The great Slipkix known in the Tekken and Mortal Kombat scene. His knowledge, sense of humor, and energy is unmatched in this world. Prayers to his family and friends. May you rest in peace and look over us all." And on July 1st, a few days later, Unconkable came out with this article, and it was a fantastic read that I want to share with you guys today. If you recognize the name, by the way, he's currently on the development team for 2XKO, and he's a Tekken Tag 1 legend. This is a fantastic article. Take a seat, get a snack. Just going to give it a read for you guys. Brad Slips Vitale, rival, friend, and fighting game legend. I was shocked and devastated to learn of Slipkix's passing a few days ago. Brad Slips Vitale was my rival, friend, and an absolute legend. His impact on the FGC, my life, and so many others is immeasurable. I want to honor him by telling a part of his story through some of our shared experiences. This may be long, and I may ramble at times since this is off the cuff, so thanks for bearing with me. A new challenger. We both grew up in St. Louis, Missouri in the Midwest, and arcade fighting game culture was extremely popular. There were multiple arcades across malls like Crestwood, South County, Northwest Plaza, and even further out at Mid Rivers and St. Clair Square. The most popular fighting game spots were Crestwood's Exhilarama and Northwest Plaza's Tilt. I frequented Crestwood a lot, and you could find players in our scene playing the following games across their many titles and versions on any given day: Tekken, Virtua Fighter, Soul Calibur, Mortal Kombat, Killer Instinct, Street Fighter, versus games, etc. These arcades would often host tournaments, and they were free entry with a prize of tons of tokens if you placed top 3. I entered and found myself winning and placing at tons of them. As a kid with no money, this was how I could go infinite. Eventually, one of these tournaments was in a game called Tekken Tag Tournament, and they told us afterwards that it was to qualify for regionals in Chicago. I placed top 3 along with, I don't know how to say this, TII, T to the 5th, and Mike STL Bad Boy. 2 other local grinders I didn't really know and had only played against during various sessions, and we decided to travel to the regional together. While we all got destroyed, we recognized that there were so many more people into fighting games than we realized, and ultimately we became friends and kept playing regularly. Our friend group grew over time. Tekken Tag Tournament came out on PS2, and our group multiplied even more. When I say the STL FGC is special, I really mean it. I am friends with everyone to this day, and they have all helped shape me into who I am. We would play at the arcade and then afterwards on consoles well into the morning, and would also take road trips to tournaments held in adjacent states and cities every weekend. Okay, thank you, SC Nightblade. It's pronounced T, or Toby. Thank you. One day at Crestwood Exhilarama, one of our scrubs we used to beat on asked if I wanted to play on console afterwards. One of the scrubs we used to beat on. I said sure thing, as I could see the fire in his eyes, and I also thought it was cool that he was trying to get good with Eddie. This, of course, was Brad. He came to my place, we played, and it was a massacre. I beat him 42-1 using most of the characters in the game, and my only loss was when I failed at killing him with Yoshi's double suicide. The thing is, though, I noticed that through it all, we were both having an amazing time, and he was improving rapidly throughout our set. Before I knew it, we were playing almost every day at my place, and he became strong very quickly. Fun fact, Brad played Eddie and was debating on pairing Eddie with King or Julia. His King was a monster, and I secretly wanted him to main King, both for the Armor King versus King lore match, and also since his Julia was much harder to fight. Ultimately, he stuck with Eddie and Julia, which, looking back, was a no-brainer. A lot of people give him credit for his Eddie, but he really pushed what Julia could do and made that character his own as well. Also, this dude would come so close to beating me overall across these sessions, but fail to clutch it out, and then scream into my couch pillows as loud as he could. I could still hear the muffled "God damn it!" to this day. I feel that. Tekken Tag Tournament. The STL FGC played Tekken Tag Tournament religiously, along with tons of other fighting games, which I will talk about later. At some point, our road trips were not enough, and we saved up enough money to travel to both the West and East Coast to fight even more competition. Brad was always there with us, winning and placing in tournaments. And as the legend of his Eddie and Julia grew, top players wanted to money match him, which he would accept and win as well. Brad became stronger than I, and he pushed me to level up myself. While we had an amazing group of friends in the STL FGC, all it takes is one single person to be your rival and push you beyond your limits, and Brad was definitely that person for me. Fun fact, Brad developed the strategy of using Julia's counter hit 4, her standing right kick that would lead to huge damage and mix on counter hit, to stop T's Jin and Devil wave dash guessing games, creating a rock paper scissors of counter hit beating aggression, beating whiff punishing, etc. T was so frustrated at this that he screamed, "Julia's 4 is magical since it beats everything. That is a magic 4." We all lost our shit at hearing that, and everyone started calling it Magic 4. Now you know where the phrase Magic 4 originated, and it is all because of the successful strategy Brad developed. Can you believe that? We still talk about Magic 4s. We still talk about that. Like 20 years later. The 1800s. Tekken 4 came out. This is after Tekken Tag Tournament 1. And the STL FGC played it, but Brad wasn't feeling it. I felt this as well, as it had its own unique aspects. It seemed to remove a lot of what we found fun about Tekken Tag, along with the related avenues of mastery. While he found some success with Christie, he eventually called Tekken 4 the 1800s, since there is literally horse shit everywhere. And I'm pretty sure I was laughing so hard it hurt when I first heard him say that. As a result, STL Tekken played both Tekken Tag Tournament and Tekken 4 early on. At this time, I studied abroad in Japan, and Brad continued to dominate the Tekken Tag Tournament tournaments he attended in the US, while also doing very well in Tekken 4, even though he still preferred Tekken Tag. Rivals meet again. I returned from Japan, having played a bunch of Tag and Tekken 4, and finally met up with Brad again to play Tekken Tag. He beat the shit out of me, and I couldn't believe how much he improved in a year. Once again, he lit the fire in me to improve, and I did so very quickly. We played in a number of Tekken 4 and Tekken Tag tournaments, mostly focused on the latter, and STL took 2nd, 3rd, and 4th place at EVO 2004 in Tekken Tag. If you ever watch the matches between Brad and I, he literally forced me to use the most basic and safe tools because he was so good at reading when you would attack and heavily punishing you with massive counter hit damage. You see me do mostly Devil forward 1, down 1, Wind God Fist, throws, and Armor King Dark Upper. Down 1, neutral 2, down forward 1, CD1, and throws. Throws not being able to be counter hit and having to hard duck to punish them made it so that the most top players just got good at breaking them on reaction instead of being conditioned. It is crazy that he was so good that he reduced these massive movesets down to so few options. And I just want to say that I think that's kind of the beauty of Tekken. People say there are so many moves that are useless. The moves only became useless because the players got so good at reducing those options. You know? So, to me, the reduction of, or like the fact that so many moves were not so good is a testament to the players' commitment to making them not good. You know what I mean? Like, obviously it's a bit of both, because you have to, if the game designs it well enough to all be useful, you have what we have now. But to me, it's cool that they were able to reduce the options that they had to deal with. Brad was also insane at blocking hell sweeps. No amount of crouch dash canceling into twin pistons or down forward 2 would work. And if he sidestepped either, I died anyway. I really feel like we maxed our characters out and the game was so fun since there were no further gimmicks, just who could read the other more quickly and who could switch gears fast enough in response as well. I also want to talk about the player who took 4th place at EVO 2004 in Tekken Tag. For a sec, Shin is Brad's cousin who wanted to learn Julia and Michelle in Tekken Tag, not having played fighting games seriously at all before this, but wanted to learn how to backdash cancel first before anything else. Brad taught him, and you had Shin, who had the best spacing of all time and 0 fundamentals. It was the craziest thing I had ever seen. He would hit you, call out that it was a time match, and then run out the clock. Wow, I feel seen. Ultimately, Shin learned the hardest Michelle shotgun combos and managed to clutch out wins against the very best players at the time. Brad was an excellent teacher as well. Wow. I have a spiritual predecessor. That's really cool. I forgot to mention that in STL we played a decent amount of Tekken Tag with the PS2 multi-tap, where you could play 2 humans versus 2 humans. EVO 2004 had a side Tekken Tag 2 team tournament that Brad and I entered, and we won it all. That was super fun times, and I think the match exists on the EVO 2004 DVD. If you guys are too young to know, but the multi-tap, the PS2 only has 2 controller ports, right? So the multi-tap was a tool to plug in more than 2 controllers, right? A, B, C, and D. It's cool. It actually looks like a PS2. The PS2 only had 2 controller ports, so you could not. Here, open this up. You could not, do more than that. So the multi-tap existed, and I only know of its existence, but I never had one myself. Tekken 5: The Return of the Eddie Legend. Tekken 5 Dark Resurrection is probably one of the best Tekken games of all time, and seeing Eddie return to the franchise in Tekken 5 and it take a direction back towards what players loved previously was a breath of fresh air. Brad's Eddie was a monster, and I am sure my Raven ate an untold number of back 3 counter hits from him during this era. He also began teaching new folks in this generation how to play, and many of them became monsters in their own rights. One interesting thing about Tekken 5 is that this was the first game to show total matches played and win percentages on your character cards that you used in the arcade. One thing this did was make it pretty clear who was better against the entire field than others. At Northwest Plaza Tilt, your win percentage said a lot. I think mine hovered around 78% on Raven in early Tekken 5 days, and that is not surprising since he was a brand new character, so I was definitely taking advantage of folks via knowledge checks. Brad's was consistently at 82% and even higher down the road, which was unbelievably impressive to me. This got me thinking about why, and one thing I noticed was just how much more quickly he could read a pattern, counter it, and also switch his own pattern through anticipating the opponent reading him. He was the first person I noticed who was absurdly good at both of these areas of playing, and recognizing this really helped me level up my own game. Just another example of him leveling up those around him. The Namco-sponsored Tekken 5 Regionals and Nationals were super fun. Brad won the regional, and I qualified as well. We attended the Tekken 5 Nationals together. I lost my very first match and made it as far as 4th place with Raven, and I believe Brad got 2nd place with Eddie. The cool thing about this tournament was that Namco gave the top 4 players unique character cards. They merged our card data with unique brand new cards. These new cards then showed plain text under our names with the phrase National Champion, and I will never forget playing against Brad while traveling to all kinds of places with players seeing our battles and losing it when seeing those titles. I'm so bummed I lost my card during a move across the world in the past. That is so cool. So you had like a memory card you carried around to arcades, right? I assume, I think it's like Bana Pass or something. I assume you load credits on it too, maybe. But you pull up, you see a dude with 82% win percentage, and it says National Champion, like a unique tag. I would love if tournaments these days had that. Like, if the PlayStation 6 is like a QR, or a RFID thing, or a QR code or something, that would be so cool to be able to, doesn't like the Switch have that with the amiibos? That would be a cool feature. Other fighting games. I mentioned it briefly earlier, but Brad didn't just play Tekken. He was known for competing in and being extremely strong in many other fighting games. Soul Calibur 2 and Beyond with Voldo. Mortal Kombat 9 and X with Scorpion. Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo with Chun-Li. HD Remix with Chun-Li. Guilty Gear XX with Venom. Injustice 2 Ninja Turtles. Fun fact, I was at Brad's one night after HD Remix had just come out, and he was playing online as I walked in the door. He was tearing about this Zangief player who was destroying him. The player's name was Snake Eyes. Brad's tournament placings. About a year ago, Brad and I were chatting about our tournament placings, and I mentioned to him that I kept a record of my own as well as I could, and found out he did the same. I'm going to share this here and caveat this with the fact that he mentioned that these may not be accurate. I still want to share them as they really paint a picture of his dominance in an era that had no esports, small prize pools, and was primarily fueled by the drive to be the best and represent your community. Multiple first places, Tekken Tag, Extravaganza 3, Tournament in Texas, Extravaganza 4, Tournament in Texas 4, Electric Cancel 4. Electric Cancel is still a tournament today, so that's pretty cool. First and second and Namco-sponsored regionals for Tekken 5. Kumite in Tennessee was a tournament. I attended, I believe, the last Kumite in Tennessee, I want to say in 2023. So these are names of tournament series that have been running for a long time. I didn't know that they had such a storied history. I attended, I believe, either the last or second to last Kumite in Tennessee. Electric Cancel I would love to go to. Or I think Electric Clash is a current tournament. They're 2 different series. Obviously Evo. St. Louis Underground. Chicago Fighter Shooter. Shang Tsung's Fight Night Invitational. NorCal Strong Style is a legendary tournament series. We would all love to see this one come back, but who knows? We don't know. Note, he has actually won and placed in much more than the above, which is crazy to think about. A few more for the road. We would play many more fighting games together as new ones came out. There were two notable tournaments I want to mention: St. Louis Underground Tournament of Shenanigans and NorCal Strong Style 4. Both of these featured Tekken Tag Tournament, and given that I was living and working across the world, the timing lined up where I would be able to visit and play against Brad in both. I kid you not, in both tournaments, our matches went down to the final set, final round, and the tournaments were decided by that final round being a timeout, with the winner winning by only a single percentage point in each. These videos likely exist online, but the quality is probably questionable. We knew each other so well that our matches were literally decided by the tiniest of mistakes. The Eternal Battle. Eddie and Julia versus Devil and Armor King. I chose the Tekken Tag loading screen of Eddie and Julia versus Devil and Armor King as the banner for this article, which is an image I have seen more times than anything else in my life. To me, that represents our eternal battle. I would love it if you would share this story so more people can know about Brad Slips Vitale. I would also love to hear any memories you have of him. Brad, I expected to play another match against you during my next trip to STL, but it now looks like that will have to wait. Rest in peace to my rival, friend, and fighting game legend, but only until I get there and we can run it back. Really, really well-written article. Fighting games are amazing, man. This is the, if you just got in, this is the loading screen he's talking about from Tekken Tag Tournament 1. What a testament to a person who, again, is before my time. I never got the chance to meet him, but everybody who has ever talked about him has had the nicest things to say. So, if you stuck around for this whole read, I appreciate it. Again, thanks to Sean for giving me permission to read this. I asked him if it was cool, and he said yes. So that was a fantastic read, and yeah, this is why Tekken is so great. This is why fighting games are so great. And I hope, even as the world changes and even as these games change, that people can still have experiences like this. I think this is fantastic stuff. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next one. Peace.